Welcome to NFL Total Access. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz. We've got Brian Billick, Thomas Davis, and former Packer James Jones joining us shortly. It's been 1 week since news dropped that Aaron Rodgers is unhappy in Green Bay, specifically with the moves the front office has made. Since then, everyone from armchair quarterbacks to Hall of Fame ones have weighed in on the matter, and so have number 12's friends and former teammates.
I really don't think it's beyond repair. I know speculation is running wild right now with all the possibilities of what could have been, what possibly can still be. But until I hear that the Green Bay Packers are listening to what the value is of Aaron Rodgers on a trade market, I do not see him going anywhere.
It doesn't feel like all doom and gloom around him now. I have said before earlier this week that I think it's going to be an uphill battle to figure out whatever the rift may be between Aaron and the front office. Yeah, it may take some time. I don't know if it's something that they can salvage, but I mean, myself as well as a lot of Packer fans, I think I'm very hopeful that they can. And I think right now what we're dealing with, it's tough to see because I know the history and tradition that Green Bay has, and I know my experience there was amazing. And nothing's perfect, I understand, but still, to think Aaron Rodgers might not be on the Packers next year, that's tough to think about.
Right, joined now by former head coach Brian Billick, Tom Pelissero, and James Jones, who is, of course, a friend of Aaron Rodgers and his teammates. JJ, your phone surely has not stopped over the past week, but Rodgers hasn't commented publicly on this, but you have spoken to him. From what you know here, your insight, can this be fixed?
Yes, MJ, it can be fixed. And I've talked to him a couple times, but this is something that I do feel like it can definitely be fixed. Sitting down with the head coach, the GM, really going over stuff, really ironing things out, some family business out. I think that this can definitely be fixed. The bad thing about it is Aaron Rodgers did not leak this. The Green Bay Packers did not leak this. So Aaron has not come out and said, I want the GM fired. I'm angry that they drafted Jordan Love. Everything that you hear all these guys talking about, he hasn't came out and said anything like that. And that is not even Aaron Rodgers' MO. So when I hear all this, I'm like, man, 12 doesn't even come out like that. And that's not how he does things. Whatever he does, he keeps it within the organization. But talking to him, this is definitely something that can be fixed. I think it will be fixed. And I think you will see Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay uniform for a very long time.
James, we can't repeat this enough. The Packers have been consistent publicly and privately. They are not trading Aaron Rodgers. Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers coach, called Matt LaFleur last Wednesday. It was a very brief conversation. The answer was no. GM Brian Gutekunst got one call from a different team. Very brief conversation. The answer was no. To this point, my understanding is they have not even gotten an offer for Aaron Rodgers. And even if they do get an offer, they don't have to take it. It's really a matter of how far do both sides want to push this. From Aaron Rodgers' perspective, as James detailed, there are frustrations that he has and issues that he would like to iron out. His ultimate leverage is to say, I'm not showing up. I won't be there when training camp begins. The Packers can look at that and say, well, if you do that, then you can go ahead and retire. You owe us close to $30 million in bonus repayment in addition to any fines if he does not, in fact, retire. But nobody is at that point yet. The Packers have continued to try to work toward fixing this, including offering Rodgers a new contract. They've not been able to strike a deal just yet.
I really cannot see Aaron Rodgers holding out. I'm just from being around him, the competitor that he is, the teammate that he is, the brother that he is, that's something that I cannot see him doing, not showing up when it's time to get ready for training camp. I do not see him holding out. This is something that I definitely think that they need to work on and they need to get fixed before the season starts, but that is not Aaron Rodgers. Holding out, I do not think that is going to happen.
I was mentored a long time ago in that there's a time for pay and there's a time for play. And we're in the time for pay. The off season, a lot of things going on, a lot of people voicing a lot of different things. The challenge for Matt LaFleur is to hold himself arm's length from it. And I don't imagine we're going to hear a lot from Matt LaFleur. He'll let this thing play out. Because at the end of the day, when it's time for play, and I agree with JJ, Aaron Rodgers is going to come back to the Green Bay Packers. They're a good team, probably the second best team in the NFC, challenging Tampa Bay. They were so close last year. They've added some things, a couple of offensive linemen in the draft, a wide receiver. They look to be a better team possibly. And they'll kind of sort this thing out. And then it's okay. Well, yeah, let's remember at the end of the season, Aaron Rodgers looked as calm, as confident, and as happy as we've seen him in terms of his circumstance, the offense, what they're doing. I think that will come back out. It is that time for pay that it's all swirling around the NFL right now. You just let that, hold that at arm's length, and when it comes time to actually play, I think he'll show up, and it'll be long forgotten once we get to training camp.
JJ, do you have a sense of when or if Aaron will speak on this publicly?
You know what, MJ? He's not the one who leaked this. He's not the one who came out and said these comments. So to be honest with you, I think the very first time you hear Aaron touch on this will be at his locker when they catch him after a practice and they're able to shoot the questions at him. But him coming out publicly and doing an interview on a TV show or tweeting something out, I don't think that's going to happen. This is something that he strictly wants to iron out with Coach LaFleur and Brian. He wants to make sure that this family business stays family business. Let's iron out our problems and let's move forward. But him coming out publicly, I don't think that'll happen. I think that the time they catch him will be after practice at his locker, and you better get all your questions out right there.
We may have to wait because remember, availability is virtual now, so it's going to be real hard to hear anything. All right, James, thank you. Thank you all. All right, meantime, across the division, the Lions are building up their offensive line. They signed center Frank Ragnow to a 4-year extension worth $13.5 million per year, making him the highest paid center in the NFL. Detroit also drafted tackle Penei Sewell with the 7th pick. This has to make new Lions QB Jared Goff feel pretty good, and so does the fact that the Lions did not draft another quarterback.
Yeah, we had some talks before the draft, and I think it's a nice vote of confidence, obviously, for me. And I think what's not lost on me is that their first move as a staff with Brad and Dan involved me. So it's exciting and it makes you feel good.
Now the quarterback drafted after Goff in 2016, Carson Wentz. He is also at a new place this year, but according to Colts general manager Chris Ballard, it's been a pretty seamless transition for Wentz. He is, of course, reunited with Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator in Philly. All right, Thomas Davis is joining us now into this conversation. And Thomas, I want to start with you here, actually. With Reich and Wentz reunited, do you see Carson having a bounce back year?
I absolutely think that Carson is going to have a year, one for the books. When you look at what he was able to do in Frank Reich's system when he was in Philly, before he got injured, he was having an MVP-type season. And now that I think that he's motivated to show to everybody what he's capable of doing, I think he's going to have a phenomenal season in Philly. In Indy, sorry.
No, I absolutely agree. You're getting this kid back with Frank Reich, who right when you walk in the building, you know all this terminology, you know the playbook like the back of your hand. He's going to come out here. He has an O-line that is going to protect him and keep him upright in the pocket. We know he's mobile and can make plays. But listen, in Philly, when it all started to go downhill, he lost every last receiver he possibly can ask for on the roster, and he was playing with free agents, guys that were off the streets. It's tough to get chemistry with guys like that. You have a big-time O-line, you have a big-time running game, you're back with Frank Reich, but you have guys to throw the ball to. You have T.Y. Hilton, you have Pittman Jr. These guys are going to go to work for you on the outside. This is going to be a huge year for Carson Wentz. I am not going to be surprised if he is in those MVP talks again like he was under Frank Reich.
Yeah, as much as he's enjoying being back with Frank Reich and having those wide receivers, it's that offensive line that he's most excited about, because this is a guy, when he has time, remember in Philadelphia, heck, the defensive line was beating him back to his drop. He got beat up like, no one knows. So the ability with that offensive line that they have, the running game that they can establish, and his strength has always been to kind of extend the play, to get to the drop, maybe shrug off one tackler, buy a little extra time, get the ball down the field. He didn't have a chance to do that in Philadelphia whatsoever. In Indianapolis, with that offensive line, I agree. I think Carson Wentz has a chance to have a huge rebound year in a division that could be in real play because some of the things that are going on. So, yeah, I look for a huge year from Carson Wentz.
Yeah, the pieces are certainly there for Carson Wentz. The biggest thing is remaining healthy, of course. All right, guys, thank you. We finally got a real look at Trevor Lawrence in his new uniform. The Jaguars tweeted this picture out today. Man, that was quick. All right, here for it. Also, the New York Jets are making their rookies feel at home. The team posted these photos on Twitter with the newest guys trying on the helmet. This, Zach Wilson here, fitted for the weekend. You can say that again. All right, the Jets are one of several teams about to kick off rookie mini camps. Tom Pelissero is back with us now. What more can you tell us about the camps?
Well, MJ, just 3 teams, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Colts, that are having rookie mini camps this weekend, with players getting in town mostly today. The other 29 teams all set to have their rookie camps next weekend. And these camps may look a little bit different than rookie camps in the past. There are a variety of COVID-related restrictions, including teams being limited to just 5 tryout players. In a lot of cases, from coaches and general managers I've spoken to, you're probably going to see more individual drills, not so much 11 on 11, because you just don't have enough bodies to go through an actual football practice. The NFL also sent a memo to clubs on a variety of COVID topics last night, including telling teams they should have vaccines available for rookie players and meet with those players to highlight the upside of vaccines, including that not getting vaccinated could cause you to miss practices and games, which could have a negative competitive impact on your new team. Vaccines not mandated for players, but MJ, the NFL continues to incentivize.
Picked by the Pats, albeit much higher than Brady. What intangibles does Jones bring to the table here?
Well, MJ, one of the things that the Patriots really kind of fell in love with was the fact that Mac Jones, he wasn't a no-doubter as a quarterback when he went to Alabama. This is someone who had to work his way up the ladder. And it was that work ethic that really inspired a lot of people around him, because he was willing to grind the tape. He was willing to grind on his body. They basically told him he had to eat everything that wasn't nailed down so he could gain some weight, put some weight on that frame. And while people make fun of his body, he became a stronger athlete, but yet retained that quickness. And I think the interesting thing about him is, as his teammates saw him put in all this work, they started to trust him more and more and realized that this was actually a benefit to the football team, the knowledge that he brought to the table. And Steve Sarkisian, who is now, of course, the head coach of the University of Texas, but was his offensive coordinator, said he is as highly prepared as any quarterback that he's ever dealt with. And he was talking about some of the pro guys that he dealt with, including a former MVP in Matt Ryan. He just said, this guy prepared for every day like he was already in the NFL. And I think now those dreams are becoming realized, and he's going to the NFL. And according to Sarkisian, he believes Mac is ready to play, about as ready as anyone could play coming out of college, because he just is so bright. It's a 4.0 GPA at Alabama, but an advanced degree in football.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they made sure and vetted somebody who was willing to earn it, not just take it. All right, Mike Giardi, thank you. All right, let's get Brian Billick and James Jones and their take on this whole Patriots situation. Cam Newton and Mac Jones, 2 very different quarterbacks, gentlemen. Now, Coach, I'm going to start with you here. If you were in Bill Belichick's shoes, how would you approach this situation?
Well, this is going to be interesting, because typically you could hear, like we hear so often, well, this gives him a chance to develop. He'll sit for a year. We'll let Cam Newton carry the offense and go forward. The problem is that, and no one's been more active in free agent than the New England Patriots. We've talked about it a great deal. They're going to be in a lot of 12 personnel with the 2 tight ends that they acquired, which fits obviously what Cam Newton wants to do with the quarterback power and some of the things they do. That's not the offense that Mac Jones is going to run. So I'm not sure what the value is in having Mac Jones sit around and watch Cam Newton run an offense that he's not going to run when he gets his chance. And how do you split those reps? How do you split the offense up? It's going to be interesting to see what their plan actually is, because this is not just here's the offense, we'll let him mature. If he gets the opportunity, we'll see. It's going to be they're going to have to come up with 2 totally different offenses. I don't know how you get that practiced in training camp, and if indeed the transition that comes during the course of the year. than how you make that transition. And if it doesn't, if you just stay with Cam Newton, then basically you're starting from scratch in the offseason. So this is going to be one worth watching.
You know what, Coach? If it was any other franchise, I would be a little worried. But Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, they have the rep that whichever player steps out there, whether you're the first-round pick all the way to the seventh-round pick, you are well prepared. No matter what offense you got to learn, no matter what defense you got to learn, you are well prepared. So this guy will be well prepared. And as you know, Coach, you've never went into a season, even if you had two different quarterbacks and said, okay, this playbook is for this kid and this playbook is for that kid. So they will run the same things. Now, Cam Newton may have a little bit more different packages in on the offense that they like to do when he's in the game. And if he's prepared and this young kid, Mac Jones, shows him that he's ready to play, I'm sure they'll have some stuff that he's strong at when he enters into the ball game to be able to do on the football field. But either way, this offense has a lot of weapons, and it's set up for both of these quarterbacks to go out there and have success.
All right, I'm just going to sprinkle in these little stats about Cam real quick because he ranked second in carries, third in rush yards, and first in rushing touchdowns last season amongst QBs. So with all of these teams, right, they're stacking their defenses. That's what we've seen. It's not a bad idea who have a guy out there who can really scramble and do the things that Cam does, but he's got to be able to do all of it. All right, guys. Speaking of defenses, the Patriots had a few noteworthy draft picks on that side of the ball as well. Let's bring in Thomas Davis for this. Now, Thomas, the Patriots rolled with the Bama trend, right? Picking up defensive tackle Christian Barmore in the second round and then edge rusher Ronnie Perkins in the third. What do you like about these guys?
So when you look at Christian Barmore and what he was able to do at the University of Alabama, I think he's a great run stopper. But the underrated part of his game is his ability to rush the quarterback. You see him just showing up and flashing on film time after time. And then when you talk about Ronnie Perkins, you know, he got in some trouble early on in his career, but he's another kid that can flat out just get after the quarterback. And that's something that the Patriots needed. You know, they were the 27th ranked team in sacks last year in the NFL. And, you know, in order to be successful, you have to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. And that's something that they felt like they needed. And that's why they drafted these two guys.
Thomas, listen,
I believe one spot he would like to end up would be Denver. Broncos have a lot of young talent at the skill positions. They've got a good defense. They've got enough salary cap maneuverability that they could potentially make some additional moves. And they don't have a clear answer at quarterback, though they did just acquire Teddy Bridgewater from Carolina to come in and compete with Drew Lock. Despite a lot of rumors, I am told at this point the Broncos have not even made an offer for Rodgers. Another potential fit could be the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, another team with a lot of young talent at the skill positions. They do have an established quarterback in Derek Carr, but he has no guaranteed money left on his contract. We also need to remember Russell Wilson had the Raiders on the very short list of teams that he would have been willing to go to earlier in this offseason. If the Seahawks had been willing to trade him, the Raiders really didn't even show any interest. Would that be different if Aaron Rodgers became available? MJ, we may not know because at this point, he's not.
All right, Tom, my head is spinning. I can only imagine all these details. All right, keep your phone on, though, my friend. We'll loop you in if any more layers are added to the saga. Thanks, Tom. All right, and get ready for the biggest NFL season ever. 32 teams, 17 games. And on May 12th, the entire 2021 schedule is revealed live on NFL Network and ESPN2. The 2021 NFL schedule release presented by Verizon, 8 Eastern, Wednesday, May 12th on NFL Network and ESPN2. All right, so here are some of the things you can look forward to. Kickoff will go down September 9th and get ready for a regular season Week 17 game. Now, the Steelers, they have the toughest strength of schedule, while the Eagles have the easiest. And Super Bowl 56 from SoFi Stadium will be here in Los Angeles. That will take place February 13th. All right, let's take a look at some of the must-see matchups here that we have for the fall. Tom Brady will have a Foxborough homecoming. The Bucs QB will take on Bill Belichick and the Patriots. The team he, of course, won 6 Super Bowls with. Thomas, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
It's going to be a must-see game. Tom Brady going back to Foxborough. You know, during the week, Tom is going to be talking to the defensive guys. He's been in that system for so long. He's going to let these guys know what to expect, what to look for. And it's going to be an advantage for that defense for sure. But when he gets back in there, Obviously, we all know that he just won the Super Bowl this year, so he already has bragging rights, but he's going to do everything that he can to come away with a victory in Foxborough to show everybody, hey, I still got it.
All right, so that's the GOAT. As for the next generation of quarterbacks, the #1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, faces the #2 overall pick, Zach Wilson. JJ, which rookie has the edge right now?
Well, first off, did my dude Thomas Davis just say Tom Brady going to be in the building snitching when they playing the Patriots, giving up all the plays and the calls?
Hey, listen, it ain't snitching. It's not snitching. It's smart. I mean, you got to utilize the tools, man. You know how it goes.
It's very smart. But in this one, I'm a big Zach Wilson fan, but Trevor Lawrence is in the better situation. You got Marvin Jones. You have DJ Chark. You have a two-headed monster at running back. He drafted his brother Etienne out of Clemson to put in the backfield with him, who's going to be big on third down. But this guy has a lot of weapons around him to succeed. He's with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer does a great job with these college quarterbacks, and he can do this, as you see, using his legs, being able to scramble and make some plays. So I think he has the edge in this one.
All right, the last matchup of rookie quarterbacks that were the top 2 picks, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. The year was 2015. The Titans, by the way, overwhelmingly won over the Bucs 42-14. 4 touchdowns for Mariota in that one. Throwback. Finally, the best quarterback rivalry in the game. It's Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, part 4. Coach, Lamar can't seem to get over the hump against Mahomes here and the Chiefs. How can he and the Ravens get it done?
Well, yeah, they got to win, and it has probably as much to do with the defense because Patrick Mahomes for the last 2 games against the Ravens, over 700 yards passing. Now, Lamar Jackson's been okay this last year, kind of pedestrian. He was 15 of 28 for under 100 yards, almost ran for more yards, 83 yards in rushing in that game. Now, 2 years ago, he actually was a little bit better from the pocket. But the question is, can he keep up with Patrick Mahomes from the pocket and making those plays down the field? And can the Raven defense actually try to limit and slow down the Kansas City offense? You got to go tit for tat. Can't trade touchdowns for field goals. So yeah, Lamar Jackson has to step up and have a Patrick Mahomes type game when he plays Kansas City. But the Baltimore Raven defense has to step up and do its share as well.
And Coach Mahomes, 3-0 against the Ravens, 9 TDs and 116.2 passer rating in this matchup. Big hump to get over. All right, Justin Herbert racked up more shy of 23 points a game. The NFL just welcomed a new rookie class last week, and we're easing into fantasy football season. Fantasy Live's Marcus Grant is with us now. Marcus, I'd love to say educate the people at home, but educate me too on which rookies they need to grab in their fantasy drafts this year.
Well, the first one off the list to me is Najee Harris. And a lot of mock drafts you're doing nowadays, you see he's the first rookie off the board. Probably early second round, although I do suspect the hype may bump him to the end of the first round by the time we get to August. It is the perfect situation. You're talking about one of the most talented backs in this class, in a offense where there's no real threats to him getting opportunity. I don't worry so much about Benny Snell maybe eating into his touches. I do expect that Najee Harris is going to be a workhorse right from the beginning there in Pittsburgh. Another one that I love is Devontae Smith. We'll stay in state, right? We'll go from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. And Devontae Smith there, the guy who was the Heisman Trophy winner this past season. I know people are worried about his size, but when you run routes the way he does, when you get off the line of scrimmage the way he does, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And the Eagles are in need of wide receiver help, so I expect that Devontae Smith's going to step in here and be a target monster pretty much from the get-go.
All right, last year I couldn't even log into my fantasy draft, so no chance I'll get either one of those guys this year either. There are 2 sides to this, Marcus. Tell me about some rookies maybe we should be a little cautious about.
Travis Etienne is top of the list there for me. And this isn't about him. It's just more about the landing spot. I know for everybody like myself who loved James Robinson, seeing Etienne get drafted to Jacksonville was sort of a gut punch. And you hope that maybe it's just a 2-headed backfield between Etienne and James Robinson. If Carlos Hyde starts to get involved, then this really becomes a muddled mess. Would have loved to see Etienne go somewhere like maybe Atlanta where he could get more opportunity there. Another one that I'm a little bit concerned about is Rashad Bateman. And again, This has nothing to do with Bateman's ability. I think he's a very talented wide receiver. I just worry about Ravens wide receivers. No matter how much they say they want to change their offense and start throwing the football a little bit more, when you've got guys like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson as the quarterback, you're going to run the football. So I just worry that Bateman may not have the targets that you need for him to be a productive fantasy wide receiver.
You know what, Marcus? I know it seems like we're still a ways away from drafting fantasy players, but this just, you know as well as I do, these few months go by like this.
It'll be here before you know it. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Marcus, thank you. Now, as for the top 5 fantasy defenses last year, here's how they stacked up. The Rams at the top of the list, 149 points. Steelers right behind them, 148. The Colts, Dolphins, and Ravens rounding out that top 5. And with that, let's get a little preview of which defenses will be wrecking quarterbacks and wide receiver streams in 2021. Thomas Davis, you played linebacker for 16 seasons. We have a little bit of an idea of what rosters could look like. Who are your top 3 defenses heading into this season? Rank them for me 3 to 1.
So right now I want to start with number 3, and I think the number 3 defense is going to be the defense that was number 1 last year in the Los Angeles Rams. And the reason I think that is you still have Aaron Donald there, you still have Jalen Ramsey, and as long as you have those guys on your team, you have a definitely opportunity to be successful. Number 2, I want to go with a surprise pick. But when you look at the guys that they added in the offseason, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to be very successful on the defensive side of the ball. You have Myles Garrett and you have Jadeveon Clowney. When you put those 2 guys on the edge, they're going to wreak havoc. They're going to make everybody's job that much easier on the defensive side of the ball. And number 1, I have to go with the Washington football team. You know, just being in that locker room last year, seeing the guys that they have up front when they drafted Chase Young and they added William Jackson in the offseason, I think the Washington football team added the pieces that they needed with free agency and in the draft to be the number 1 defense in the entire NFL.
Thomas, did you have the Browns in here because Myles Garrett walked on the draft stage looking like Wreck-It Ralph meets the Hulk?
You know, I've been watching a lot of his workout videos, and, you know, the guy, I mean, he looks awesome. He looks amazing. But I just feel like, you know, adding JOK in that linebacker room, you know, they're going to get some guys back healthy that were hurt last year. And I just think that the sky is really the limit for that defense.
All right, I see you. Yeah, Myles looking like he already had pads on under that suit. All right, earlier today, Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks talked to those closest to Lawrence as part of their Move the Sticks 360 series.
With the first pick
You see the long hair.
in the 2021 NFL Draft,
Everybody calls him Sunshine.
the Jacksonville Jaguars select
He's deceptively elusive,
Trevor Lawrence.
and he likes contact a lot more than people think.
Action. I turn into a savage.
Touchdown, Clemson. Oh, my goodness.
He has the talent, he's got the skill set, plus the things that you want, the leadership, the humbleness.
The back left corner of the end zone. Touchdown.
Big like Peyton, but just a better athlete. I mean, he can just flat out run.
He checks every single box there is to check.
Wow, a game-changing play.
There are certain players that are transcendent type players. You can put him in any system in football, he's going to find a way to make it better.
The AFC South is our featured division in our draft grades presented by Lexus. Now, Brian Billick was dealing out grades today. Look at that. The Jags with an A. The Titans, A-. Colts with a B. The Texans rounding out with a C here. All right, Coach. The Jags needed some help offensively. They had the 30th ranked scoring offense last year. Was that part of the reason why you gave them an A?
Well, Urban Meyer came in and said this was going to be a defining moment for the draft. They had the opportunity. Urban Meyer, who's very, very calculating, and I say that in an absolute complimentary way, in terms of he chose this job at this time because of the circumstances of Trevor Lawrence, what was going to be available, what the cap situation was, what they were going to have into the draft. And when you look at their draft, very comprehensive, but at the top end, along with Trevor Lawrence, they added the running back, they added the offensive line from Stanford. They had 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. So this is something that, or 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. This is something that has been in the works for a long time. He's wrapping it together in just the way he wants to. I talked with Urban on a podcast about a week ago. He's very excited The triumvirate on offense that he's put together of Darren Bevel and Brian Schottenheimer to run the offense. So there's a lot of work that has gone into this, the calculation. They've delivered in the draft in terms of how comprehensive they were in a division that's going to be in a little bit of flux, given what's going on in Houston, the change at quarterback in Indianapolis. So, yeah, it's hard to – and when you have that many picks and the first overall pick, it's hard not to get a good grade in the draft.
Yeah, it's a formula they're trying to get exactly right. All right, thank you, Coach. And in that division, the Texans and the Jags, they weren't the only teams taking quarterbacks across the board. I mean, the Bucs picked up Florida's Kyle Trask with the 64th overall pick. It's a great situation for Trask, who will be learning from the 7-time Super Bowl champ, Tom Brady. We're joined now by the newest Buccaneers quarterback, Kyle Trask. Kyle, I love this for you. I am so excited. Congratulations. You are now part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization. What was it like when you got that call, man?
It was unreal. You know, it was one of the best moments of my life. You know, putting in all that hard work throughout the years, and especially those, few months leading up to that draft, just with our sole focus on football, and to have that case scenario, be the outcome, I couldn't be more happier.
You know, we were talking to you every week leading up to the draft. It was so great to sort of see the ramp up for you. How was the celebration, though?
It was awesome. I mean, I had my whole family there, and just to have, all of my, close family and friends in the same room to share that moment with, it's something I'll never forget.
Ugh, unbelievable. All right, let's get down to a little business, though, because you will be behind Tom Brady. Casual, right? I mean, have you talked to him yet?
Yeah, he actually did reach out to me, a couple of days after the draft, and was just making sure that, or was checking in on when I'm going to get into town so we can, get together and maybe do some throwing and things like that. And that meant a lot to me. And you can just, not only Tom, but a couple of other guys have reached out. So you can definitely tell that they have a great culture and a great group of people just in this building, and I can't wait to get started.
I mean, a lot to learn here from Tom. Is there something specific about his game that you're eager to dive into with him directly?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I just want to do whatever I can to help the team, and obviously the goal is going to be to win another Super Bowl, and that's going to be my main focus. And whatever I can do at the end of the day, that's going to lead the team in the right direction. I'll be willing to do that.
We talked a little bit with you about, what if you go to a cold weather team? You don't have to worry about that. You're staying right there in Florida. Excited about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain. I've played my whole life, in South Texas and then Gainesville, Florida, and then I'll be right down the road from there. So I'm going to continue my career in the hot weather environments.
Boom. Perfect transition. Listen, nobody call Kyle this summer. He's a little busy just, learning from Tom Brady and joining the NFL. Kyle, we are so excited for you. Congrats again. Good luck on OTAs and minicamp.
Thank you. I appreciate it.